2, 1.
We could change the world with love it all unfolds. Ooh, no holding back. We gotta be bold. They say it's over, but I'm not sold.
Hi, are you an author in the middle of self-publishing your next book? Somewhere along the process, you've probably heard about creating an audiobook. You've been encouraged to make an audiobook. You know friends who've made the investment in creating an audiobook, but you can't bring yourself to get started because getting into the technical weeds just seems too daunting. But what if we could take that all away? What if we could remove 90% of the technical barriers, so all you would have to do is show up to the microphone and record? Or maybe you don't want to record your own audiobook. That's totally fine too. We have an experienced team of professional narrators that would love to audition for your audiobook. Our Done For You service guarantees that you will have a professionally produced audiobook ready for commercial release. If you're ready to get started today, please click the link below and schedule a free call. We can't wait to hear from you and to get started on your project.
Hello, and welcome into another episode of Shine with Curiosity and Encouragement podcast. I am your host, author Stephen Urias, and illustrator of Pet Series Books. As always, with me is my host as well, Susan Gabriel. She is the author and publisher of Soul Sunshine. Sorry, my tongue is getting all like blah blah blah.
Oh, you're good.
It's
You're doing good.
it's
Yeah.
Father's Day today, so uh,
Yes.
happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. I am a father of 6 children, and I do want to give a little special shout out to them at the moment. So, Callie, Kira, Blake Street, Chloe, Carlin, and Cassie, thank you for making me a father. I am proud of you guys every single day. It's been an honor and a pleasure watching you guys grow up, and I can't wait to see what you guys become in the future. Got a little teary-eyed on that one.
Yeah. That's so sweet. And you've got some really cute kids too.
Yeah, they're awesome. So how you
Yeah.
doing today, Susan?
I'm fine. Um, my dogs are a little impatient. They think that they need to be fed, and I told them that they're going to have to wait till after the podcast. But
Yes.
you know how dogs are. If you
They don't
if you hear
understand that.
anything, yeah, they're complaining about they haven't had their dinner yet. So anyway,
Uh,
they'll be
well,
okay.
as always, Soul Sunshine sponsors Shine with Curiosity and Encouragement podcast. Be sure to visit us at soulsunshine.com. We have a very special guest today. Her name is Kathern Romero. She is the author of Triumphant Stories of Inspiration, Empowerment, and Success, Volume 1. And she has a story to share with you guys about overcoming adversity, building yourself up from rock bottom, and just seeing life in a completely different way. So, without further ado, let's bring Catherine to the stage. And hi, how are you?
Good. Very, very good.
Thank you for spending your Sunday with us.
Thank you for the invite.
No, you're most certainly very welcome. It is quite a warm day today here in the Mile High City.
Yes, very warm.
Are you also in Denver,
I'm
Catherine?
in the Springs.
Oh, I used to live in the Springs for a
Yeah.
long time.
Ah,
What part of the Springs?
I live
Right.
downtown. I'm a native.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
So, right off the bat, you are the author of Triumphant Stories of Inspiration, Empowerment, and Success,
Co-author.
Volume
Yeah.
1. Co-author,
Co-author.
co-author. Okay. Why did you help assist in writing this book?
Um, well, I started with Dr. G, Dr. Garrett, and he invited me to do a speaking engagement called Memoirs that we have here in the Springs. And so I did that, and he said, well, I think you might be really great for this next project I'm working on. And Dr. G is really great about helping people get to the next level of telling their story, letting people know their story does matter. And it seems kind of daunting, like, well, okay, my story matters. Well, where do I go from there? And he has built this platform for other authors, other speakers to do so. So I
Mhm.
thought, wow, that's really cool. And I want to be a part of that. And I want to inspire others to
Yeah.
do the same.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always encouraging and inspirational to meet somebody who's overcome, hardships. So
Yeah.
I'm really eager to hear your story.
Good. Thank you. I'm eager to share it.
You start your story from the bottom.
Yeah.
Describe the night that changed everything.
Um, so I had found myself in another unhealthy relationship because I did not take the time to work on myself after a hard divorce, actually two hard divorces. Um, I used to carry a lot of shame about that, about, wow, I can't make things work, even though I did. My first was 19 years. My second was 4.5. But when you find yourself in toxic situations, if you don't take the time, you will find yourself there again because you're trying to repair that pattern. And so you replay those things. You have a tendency to do that. And that's exactly where I found myself that night. Um, I had rushed into another relationship, and he had his own problems. And I always like to share, part of the story is not mine to tell because it's his. But it's important that people understand that in toxic relationships, even the person who is aggressive, they're still people, and it's just they haven't dealt with their things yet. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, we kind of collided. So, and that's what happened there. And so that night was a buildup of that, and my family kind of just being really tired of me not dealing with my shit. Pardon my French, And so
Yeah.
um, I felt really alone, and um, it was my very first Thanksgiving that I wasn't going to be with my family. Um,
Mm.
and I was a mother for 27 years and an at-home mother for 12. So to suddenly have your children push you away and say, no, we're not going to participate in this anymore,
Mm.
was devastating for me. We were so intertwined, so close. And so that really hurt. Um, I don't think they were meaning to hurt me, but they also didn't want to participate.
Mhm.
So understandable,
Yeah,
understandable.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that you had made mention that your children, due to this relationship that had this night that we're talking about, they didn't want to be around you because of that relationship, that toxic relationship that was happening in there.
Yeah.
Which, like I said, is incredibly understandable because
Mhm.
we love our parents, but to see them in a situation that we can't help them with or
Mhm.
can't change, and we can give advice, we can give um, our time, but if it just keeps happening over and over again, eventually we all get to that point where it's just like it's better to just let you experience what you need to experience.
Yeah.
And
Everyone has their journey, and I think that's one of my biggest things I've learned in healing is allowing people to have their journey. um,
Mhm.
and sometimes that means you have to lovingly step away.
mm,
Yeah.
It's not punishment. It's just, hey, I think you need some time, and or maybe you need to fall. And that's
Yeah.
sometimes part of their
Yeah.
journey. It was part of
and
mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's just the thing. We talk about that a lot in Shine here, is that everybody has their own journey. There's no time frame. There's no map. There's no things that happen to everybody on there. We all experience different things at different times, and we all
Mhm.
have realizations, some more harsh than others. But we all have that moment, that breaking point where we're slapped in the face with reality and we don't know what we're going to do next.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
definitely what happened that night. you know, uh, Me not dealing with things and kind of hiding behind alcohol, having an unhealthy relationship
Mhm.
with alcohol, unhealthy relationship with men. It all kind of just collided for me that night. So, um,
Mhm.
easy to convince yourself, well, maybe I'm not just the problem, but the problem would be better if I'm not here.
Mhm.
So,
Now you speak about that, um, and I want to get into that. But before I get into that, in violence, you found strength and you overcame your rock bottom. But what was the most important aspect that you needed to see that a change was needed?
that I couldn't rescue. Um, I think when you don't deal with your own stuff, you project saving others around
Mhm.
you. And so I was choosing partners who I felt that I could rescue, I could help. And
Mhm.
so when you do that, um, you're enabling their problems,
Yeah.
and so I had to stop and say, okay, I can't change him, I can't heal him, but I can take care of myself and I can decide that this is not for me. This isn't a safe place for me to be.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Set boundaries.
boundaries, boundaries. But it's hard. Those dynamics are always really hard
Yeah.
for both parties. You
Mhm.
become very codependent upon each other. So
Yes.
breaking those cycles of codependency was definitely one of my biggest things I had to do. Like I really had to
Mhm.
own my shit. So
You,
Yeah.
you and I went through a lot of the similar journey here with things on that, and I too had to recognize that about myself, is that I wanted to save people, and in saving people, it turns it into a completely toxic relationship.
yes.
Now, did you get professional help with that? Did you go through therapy or anything like that?
It's kind of silly. I kind of did it backwards. I had been in therapy for over a decade, and I knew logically everything that I was doing wasn't correct. This wasn't the path. But actually knowing and doing therapy and getting all the information is great. But if you're not applying it, it means nothing. So
Mhm.
I really had to get
Yeah.
honest and be like, okay, I have all the tools, but what I was missing was the action in my own life about it.
Mhm.
So,
And that's what happened that night, I take it, is that that night with the alcohol and the emotions and the things that were said and done, that was probably your like ultimate slap in the face of something has got to change.
correct, correct. And I wish that I say in the story, I wish that I could say that like God saved me that night. That's not what happened. And I think that's not what happens for a lot of people in domestic violence situations. You're
Mhm.
not saved that night. It takes a little bit, it takes a lot of bravery to start telling people, like, hey, I'm not quite sure if this is okay to be in. Is this normal? Um, and silence is often how those toxic relationships continue because often those toxic partners don't want you to tell them what happened.
Mhm.
They don't want to be exposed because it's
Right.
embarrassing, painful for them as well. So you have to start getting really honest.
Mhm.
100% agree. You have
Yeah,
to be 100% completely honest with yourself
yeah,
and truly, truly mean it.
yeah.
Um, I've been going through therapy for the past year, well, 13 months now,
Hmm.
and I've discovered things about myself and realized the patterns that I was doing. But there are times that I find myself still repeating some of those patterns where
Mhm.
see myself starting to go down that route. And I've gotten better, like stopping myself, like, oh, I know what you're doing. You
Yep.
need to stop that.
Yeah.
And there's moments of you don't even want to get out of bed because you just can't stop thinking about the situation in the past and how you felt when it was ultimately very high. And
Mhm.
then you remember when it was ultimately very low, and then you miss those feelings. And to anybody out there who's going through experiences like this, it is okay to feel those emotions. Accept them, acknowledge them, and learn from.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think one of the things that they don't really talk about in healing is okay, you learn all this stuff and you apply it and then you become very self aware. But that doesn't
Hmm.
mean you're going to stop that behavior.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, I think I just told a friend this that it's not just about knowing why you're doing it, it's feeling why you're doing it. Like really acknowledging
Hmm.
what that feeling is trying to tell you. Like, where is it coming from? What
Yeah.
you need to do to make yourself feel better instead of reaching for alcohol or another relationship or anything. Like, what is it about you that you need to serve?
Yeah. Right. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's also okay in that time to be completely selfish.
Yes.
It is okay for you to say, I am working on me. I am going to give to me. I am going to figure me out right now.
Yep.
And the people that are around you that you were giving your time to and your emotions to, they may not like it, but you know, oh well.
Yeah.
You've got to figure that out, and you've got to put it on yourself.
Correct.
Um, One of the things that I read in your um, pages there was that night you had a plan B.
Mhm.
How long did it take you to get past your plan B? And are you comfortable in talking about that?
Yeah. Yeah. So that night, fortunately, he had walked in on my decision and stopped it from happening. But I kept it. I kept it close to my heart, and I actually started fine tuning exactly how I would do it, how I would go. And I kept it for I'm going to say at least 6 months, 9 months. Uh, when things even now get hard, I'm not gonna lie that sometimes it creeps back in, like, you could, but this time I'm more aware and I understand like it's okay to acknowledge that I'm feeling down. Um,
Hmm.
that's the one thing about going to the edge of darkness, as I call it, is once you've been there, you recognize it right away. And
Hmm.
um, as much as it makes me want to live life better, I also know it exists now. And you
Hmm.
can't unknow it exists.
So true.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of our experiences can lead to insecurities.
Mhm.
And those insecurities come creeping in at the most inopportune times for us, but they just nail us right in the face. And um, with the tools that you learn in therapy and with the tools that you learn in life, you can take those moments and you can actually know that you're going to be able to survive and you know you're going to be able to push through.
Yes. Yep. It's just in those moments when you are so down, it's easy to forget. It's easy to forget, and that's exactly why it's important to have people in life that you can talk to, because
Of course.
uh, when you're feeling so down, um, it's easy to believe that you're alone, and no one's
Hmm.
going to understand. So if you just have just one person that you can be like, "Hey, I'm not doing so good today,"
Hmm.
tell you why, just so you know that you're not alone. And
Yeah.
I actually want to say I did use the hotline, the suicide hotline,
Hmm.
during this time. There was one day I just was not doing good, and I was still really shameful to tell people, and so I called, and they were very, very helpful. And I want to encourage other people that those services are there for a reason, and they do help. They helped me.
Hmm. Did you actually make an attempt at suicide?
Uh, as close as you can without actually doing it. Yeah, I just fortunately was caught in the middle of it. So
Uh-huh.
yeah,
What were you going to take pills or?
yes, yeah,
Uh,
yep. And so that was the answer, and
yep, that's was my answer too. I did it, but I actually did it. I actually took the pills
yeah.
and then lost a day and a half of my memory.
Oh goodness, yeah,
So,
yeah. That's,
so yeah,
it,
but
it, it's a scary place to be.
yeah, it is. And then to kind of end up when you are finally aware again, you realize, okay, now I'm in a mental hospital.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not where I wasn't part of my plan,
No, no. I
but
I have a lot of family members and close people in my life who have
uh,
tried. I've lost a couple of people to suicide in my life as well. Um,
yeah,
so I was really aware. I just had never been on their side of things. So I do have a
yeah,
better understanding of where people are in those moments.
right.
Um, a big advocate that it's not that they're being selfish. I mean, when we get to
Mhm,
that point, we think that we are relieving people of the burden of
mhm.
us.
Right, exactly. You think that you're not helping by
Yeah,
being there,
yeah,
that they would be better off if you were not there.
correct, correct.
And that you convince yourself of that. It's just
Yeah, yeah,
just a way to think about it, I guess, so that you can go through with it,
yes, yeah.
uh, and make an excuse for yourself.
Hmm.
But in my case, though, I think part of it was due to medication that the
Mm.
psychiatrist had given me
Yeah,
beforehand that just made me suicidal.
yeah.
And
Well,
that can be a problem for people too. You know, they take medication that doctor prescribes and then they get worse. And, they don't really realize that it's some of it's coming from the medication.
yes, yeah, yeah. Antidepressants were
Hmm.
really hard for
Yeah.
me. I and everyone has their beliefs or what works for them, what doesn't, and I'm not
Yeah.
my soapbox about that, but uh,
Yeah. Yeah, I
and
got one of those soapboxes too.
yeah, yeah, antidepressants aren't my favorite thing. I don't like to participate in those. I think they kind of numb me and block out
Mhm.
all feelings instead of just the bad ones.
Yeah.
That's not how I'm going to
Yeah.
heal. That's not how I heal.
No. Yeah, I did a kind of an extensive study of particular types of antidepressants,
Hmm.
and they actually are supposed to, according to the doctors, make you more outgoing
Hmm.
and extroverted, and that's kind of a dangerous thing to do to
Yeah,
somebody who really is not necessarily
yeah,
extroverted. Can be disastrous.
yes, very
So,
much. Yeah,
mhm. Yeah.
Now, now you, prior to this night and prior to this relationship, you said that you had lost some communication with your children.
yep,
How is your relationship with your children today?
very good, very very good,
Good. That's
very very good.
great.
Um,
How old are they?
29, 27, and 20. Uh,
Mhm.
and they are all really proud of me. I'm very fortunate. A lot of parents don't get that at such young, because my kids are still in their early 20s, but I'm very, very fortunate.
Yeah.
They are all very proud of me and tell me, like they're
Uh-huh.
cheering me on. Um,
Yeah.
it's not that they didn't love me. They just, like I said, they just wanted to see something different. And they knew I could
Cool.
be better than
Mhm.
that. And
Right.
um, they were correct. And
Mhm.
um, we were, like I said, very, very close family, almost too close. And I think that was part of the problem.
Mhm.
And as painful as the time that we spent apart, it was about 3 months that we didn't have a speaking, working relationship. Uh,
Mhm.
it actually did us all a lot of good because now we have boundaries. We have
Mhm.
words. Like I told my daughter, you can be mad at me and you can come to me and tell me anything you want, but there is a requirement. I need you to remember that I'm still a person
Hmm.
and come to me with respect. That is it.
Yeah.
You can tell
Right.
me anything.
Hmm.
So just don't do the silence.
Yeah. Silence is a really hard thing to take.
It is.
Yeah.
And if you're already struggling, we all
Hmm.
have our things, and
Yep.
God knows our children that they are very self-aware, and they are so mental health is big on the forefront of their lives. It
Yeah.
was not for me. Um, when we grew up, no one talked about mental health. We didn't have
No.
those.
Right. No.
So I'm learning along with them.
Yeah.
I'm healing along with them.
Hmm. Yeah.
Mental health growing up definitely was a stigma in society,
Yeah.
and it was seen as the white padded cell with the coat that puts your arms behind you, and only the crazy people
Straight jacket.
yeah, the
Yeah.
straitjacket, and
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
those were the people that were crazy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
I do love that modern society has caught up to the
Hmm.
fact that we all feel emotions. We
Yeah.
all experience emotions, and we don't necessarily know how to process these emotions from growing up to your teens to your 20s to your 30s to your 40s. It all changes completely different because your body's changing, your
Yep.
mind is changing, and we're just coming to accept them.
Yep.
Hmm.
Um, I love that you said boundaries in there because boundaries are absolutely necessary to stay in with your mental health, and you have to establish those boundaries and live by those boundaries, and don't let people push those boundaries away.
Yeah. My favorite thing to tell people about boundaries is boundaries are about you and not about other people. If
Hmm.
you are putting
Right.
boundaries on other people, that's control. You know,
Exactly.
boundaries are about what's okay for me, what's okay for that, other
Hmm.
person. And
Yes.
so I think we get a little confused with that.
I
Yeah. I
agree.
think we do
Agree.
too. I think,
Yep.
people think it means you're pushing someone away or you're
Mm,
setting limits on someone else,
yeah.
but that's not the way it should work.
No. Yeah.
Now, you had made mention just a little while ago that you didn't think it was God that night. Um, but what role has God played in your life?
Um, God definitely is a big part of my life. It's not that he was definitely there that night for sure, but he didn't save me in the way that you wish that God would save you in those moments. You know,
Hmm.
God placed beautiful people in my life. Um, I I have my Reiki master who attuned me to Reiki. She was one of the first people that I told. I came to her. I was like, please help me. I'm not doing so good. Um,
Hmm.
and having her there with me, I knew God was there with us,
Hmm.
to help me through those first few weeks after. And it was just a little bit at a time, like God reached in and helped.
Hmm.
Most recently, this past year, my daughter had gotten into some trouble, and she didn't have the best relationship with God. And I took her to church. Her and I had not been to church. She hadn't been to church in not years. And from the moment we stepped foot onto the property of the church, God was there. I felt him all around.
Yeah.
And to watch her relationship with God bloom too has been a highlight of my life.
Mm.
And to walk
That's,
with her. Yeah.
yeah, that's really great.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't
Yeah.
know. We
Cool.
can't do it alone.
No. Yeah.
I I unfortunately had lost my way with God,
Mm,
and um, I was firm anti-believer.
mhm.
I went through it and just was convinced that there wasn't a God.
Yeah.
And then I too hit rock bottom. Um, my father passed in 2020. My mother passed in 2021, and my marriage failed in 2022. and I was rock bottom. I was living in the car, and my best friend here came and she saw me and she showed me the way. She brought me back to God. And as I tell everybody out there, your journey with God is your own journey. You're going to come to your own realization. You're going to come when you need to see it, and the things that happened are going to show you what you need to see in order to come to that journey.
Yeah.
And I just appreciate that you're willing to share all that with us.
Yeah.
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 I think it's really interesting that actually the way have seen it now, as I look back on my experiences, it seems to me that God is always there.
Mm.
We don't see what He's doing until later. And then when you look back and you see all of the things that happen a certain way, you realize it's all God, that He's been right in the middle of your life the whole time.
Yeah.
And you didn't see it at the time.
Yeah.
And now I watch for it. I every day I watch and I can see things that happen. I'm going, well, that was God. Yeah, thanks God. I really appreciated that. So, you know, I think the older a person gets, the more in tune they can become with God, just because of um, experiences, because you've got past experiences, and when you can build on that and learn that you can trust God
Mhm.
and that He is taking care of things, even when it looks really messed up, but that He's still in control, then you can relax. It's not such a scary thing.
Yeah. Well, I always think too, it's like that whole the story where they say that man falls in the water and like people come to try to rescue him. No, no, God's going to rescue me, and then he brings a boat.
Oh yeah.
And
Ah,
thing that we don't realize that God
that's a
brings
good one.
into our lives all the time.
Yeah,
It's
that's
important
right.
to recognize, like your friend brought you to God, and that's how He works. He works through
Yeah,
people. He may
yeah,
not deliver it to your door, but he works through people, and that's what happened for
he
me.
sure does.
Yeah.
Yeah. One funny thing about the way that Stephen and I got to be connected and I was able to actually bring up the subject of God with him was at the beginning of when I start working with an author, I like to send them a questionnaire. And it just has a lot of interesting little questions about, what are your goals with the book? And there's a little personality test in there. But I sent him the wrong test, the wrong questionnaire. I had created one that I had changed a little bit to send to someone who was going to write a Christian memoir. So
Oh.
I had questions in there like, what was your lowest point? And what role did God play in your life? And all that stuff. And when I realized that I had sent him the wrong form, I thought, oh my gosh, he's not going to want to, he's not going to answer these questions. So I got it back, and sure enough, he did answer those questions.
Uh,
And that was how I learned that his lowest point was right then, and he was living in his car.
oh,
And so, and he said, that God was, he was, had kind of didn't believe in God anymore. And so, well, that just gave me an opportunity. God presented that opportunity by allowing me to mess up.
yeah.
And and so I love that he does things like that,
Right. Yeah.
like takes a mistake and turns it completely around into something positive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
then I was honest with that assessment. I told her at that moment in
yeah,
time that I didn't believe in God, and
Oh,
you right away be like, "Well, you're an atheist. I don't want to work with you anymore."
yeah.
Uh,
mhm,
and it was a month after that where we got my first book published together, and it was just this
yeah,
amazing
Mm.
sequence of events on things. And now we're
mhm,
to this day we've built more and more and more, and we've got the podcast and everything. So it's been
yeah.
fantastic.
I always find that
Um,
so amazing when God does those things. You think about like all the chances, like he has to create for those things to happen. Like
Yeah.
that's not godly. I don't know what is.
exactly.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. How can you possibly, anybody ever set up all of the situations and circumstances that make things happen a certain way?
Yeah.
I mean, it's really really definitely a miracle.
Yeah.
Like the way that um I didn't die, even though I took enough pills to kill a horse.
Hmm.
And I mean, God made me, I vomited the pills up, and that was the reason I didn't die. But I was still way out in the mountains. I was west of Colorado Springs,
Okay.
out in a place called Brush Hollow, out there in the foothills.
Hmm.
And that was where I decided I was going to take these pills so nobody would find me. And I I I don't remember vomiting. I don't remember any of this. But I got back in the car and I drove in that state over to a friend's house. I don't remember doing that at all either. So I somehow got safely. Thank God, God I didn't literally. Thank God I didn't, plow into somebody with my car.
Yeah.
But I safely made it to a friend's house, and then things, started looking up from there because I started, um, getting some help, the help
Yeah.
that I really needed and I should have looked for before instead of just giving up. So, God, boy, it's just amazing. I just love him. I love what he does.
Well, what a better subject on Father's Day, right?
Yeah, our Father for
Yeah.
sure. Yep,
For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
a good
a,
father.
a lot of this comes from experience that you've experienced. And through your experiences, I'm sure you have gotten some amazing advice. I'm sure you've gotten some really bad advice as well.
Yeah.
uh,
Don't we all? But
but
Nope.
but what is the best advice you've ever received?
Mm. One of my favorite things I think someone told me was we can get really wrapped up into our healing. Um, and someone once told me, don't be so busy healing that you forget to live.
Mm, yeah,
Ooh,
Hmm.
yeah,
wow,
that's a good one. That's
Yeah.
a good one.
Yeah.
that's really good.
Yeah, we get really stuck on the all the things that we need to heal and fix. And I just recently heard another. I don't remember the quote exactly, but so I'll give you a snippet of it. Is sometimes we focus so much on the healing and oh, I got to heal this and I got to heal that of our childhood, and we don't let it go because if we did, then we'd actually have to move forward.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and that's scary.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Don't even think about that. It's like
yeah,
I've got to heal myself. I've got to heal myself. I've got to heal myself, and
yeah. You got
you
to be
forget.
careful because it can turn into kind of a punishment. Like it can be like, oh well, I need to be a certain level before I can find love again, or before I can do this again.
Mm,
But it doesn't have to be that. Those I love the whole DBT is always talking about the and of things. Don't put buts in things. I can't do
Right.
that because of but I'm doing this. You can and it. You can be healing and working on other things.
hmm.
So
Right.
Very nice.
yeah.
Now, that's the best advice you've ever received.
Okay.
What is the best advice you can give?
Gosh, can it be the same? um, the best advice I could give: get real about yourself. Be real about yourself. Be honest to yourself. Um, the more honest you are, the more authentically you are, the more you show up naked, as I like to say, uh,
Hmm.
the more you will attract the same people. And you
Hmm.
will definitely recognize people who aren't like that more quickly.
Hmm.
Definitely, definitely. You attract what you are,
Mhm.
and You learn to attract what you want to be as well.
Yes, yes. You start bringing in good people
Mhm.
because you recognize good faster, and
Yeah.
you recognize BS even quicker.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
The funny part about it is though is that in your healing and you start to meet good people and you start to get out of those toxic situations, you look back and realize just how toxic things were.
Oh, you
And
recognize how toxic you were.
yeah, oh absolutely.
It's really
Eh,
easy to get into that victim
Mhm.
mindset of like, oh, well, these things happen because this person. Well, you
yeah.
participated. You allow,
Yes.
and
Right.
so you really got to get real about your own kind of crap and be like, hey, I circled,
Absolutely.
I allowed
That's
that.
so
Well,
true.
it's like what DBT says, you got to take accountability
Yep.
and responsibility,
Mhm.
but only for what you
What you did.
did or you're doing,
Hmm.
not what anybody
Yeah.
else is doing,
Nope.
what you did or what you're doing.
Yep.
And a lot of people tend to miss that fact of taking that personal accountability and responsibility.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Yep.
Now, I don't exactly know where you are currently in your life, but where do you see yourself in the next year?
Well, still lots of stuff going on with the Triumphant movement. We have a virtual summit coming up in September where we'll do online speaking engagement to our story and
Hmm.
kind of like this. And then next February, we actually have a live summit coming up. Um, so that's really exciting. And then my next big two projects, I want to write two books. I on Facebook I do a journal blogging of my hikes, of the thoughts I come up with on my hikes. I want to put together like a coffee table book of
Uh-huh.
those
Nice,
quotes
Yeah.
and
That
pictures.
sounds really nice. Do you
Yeah,
take pictures too
do
on
yeah,
your hikes so you can have pictures and
yeah,
your thoughts and have them
yes,
all
all
nicely
together. Yeah,
formatted together and you can answer your coffee? Yeah, I can just see it.
yeah,
Really, really sounds neat.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other one, of course, one of the biggest criticisms I get about my story is they're like, it was great. Problem is I wanted to know more. So I want to actually tell my story. So
Hmm.
and not
Yeah.
just a part of the story.
Yeah.
very nice.
So
Yeah.
Not
That
to
sounds great.
do a shameless plug here, but Soul Sunshine are publishers. We are publishers,
oh
so
yes.
we'd love to help you out in that.
Yeah, I would love that. I will definitely hit you guys up and start working on some things.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I love one of the things I love to do is format books. It
Okay.
sounds stupid, but I love formatting books because there are so many different ways you can format it and make it look artistic
Yes.
and beautiful.
Yes.
And I always wanted to be an artist, but I just don't have the talent to do that. So I learned to do graphic design,
Well, so
and
now you are.
yeah, so that's what I get to do. Yeah, so at least I get to do some design work, and I love it. I really do. So
Yeah.
between that and writing, my two favorite loves, and it's so great to be able to help people like
Yeah.
create something that you're proud of.
Yes.
So I love
Definitely.
doing that.
Well, I look
Definitely.
forward to working with you guys. So
That'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
that's
yeah.
great.
We have um, children that watch our podcast occasionally. And one of the things that I like to ask is, what advice would you give to your younger self? However, I want to throw a caveat in there and think of this as giving advice to somebody out there who may be in your situation that you're in. Just advice to them how to get through the struggle of everything.
Um, slow down. Slow down. You don't have to rush so much in life. Um, I think that was one thing that I wish I would have done in my life is take a moment for yourself. It's okay. It's okay to slow down. You
Mhm.
don't have to know everything and do everything right away.
Yeah.
And to add on to that, don't know everything.
No,
At 15, regardless as to what you think, you do not know everything.
no, no. We
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah. I used to get so impatient with my parents. They seemed, to move so slow and they did things so slow, and I was always wanting to hurry up. But
Yeah,
so that's really good advice, slow down.
slow down. You got plenty of time.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't think about it, but you really do.
Yeah, yeah.
You already answered my next question. Do you have plans to write another book? I guess the answer on that one is not
Yeah,
only one,
Yes.
but possibly two or three.
yeah. That would be the goal. It would definitely be the goal, and
Yeah.
more podcasts, more speaking engagements. I found what I love. Like definitely a
Yeah.
passion of mine to share, to share, to share,
Yeah.
to share. Yes,
Yeah. You're what our mastermind class calls a storyteller.
yes, yes.
And those are the people that enjoy sharing and telling their story and telling other people's stories. And I am too. That's something I would love to do also.
Yes.
And as you can tell, I've been blabbing here. Supposed to be interviewing you, and here I am talking about myself.
Well, isn't that the best way? I mean, that is
Yeah,
why we do have conversation. Is it's the interaction with
yeah,
each other, and
hmm
who wants to just listen to one person when you can have like that, be a witness to each other's stories and conversations.
yeah. That's what we like this to be, is more like a conversation.
Yeah,
And then
Uh,
the our guest doesn't feel like they're put on the spot either quite so badly.
correct. It definitely more
Like
comfortable. Yes.
like all eyes are turned to you now. Entertain us.
Exactly.
well, one of the things that I love about experiencing podcasts like this is that we have a lot more in common as people than we give ourselves credit for. We have a lot more things that we can relate to, and we get to see people of all different ages, varieties,
Mhm.
backgrounds, books that they've written, stories that they want to share. But then we can all find that same thing that we can connect to, and we can immediately go, I know how that feels, or hey, that sounds interesting. I want to learn how to do that.
Yep.
That's why I love the platform of podcasts here. So, it is Father's Day and it is Sunday. I want to thank you for sharing your time with us. Before we go, is there anything that you wish to share with our viewers about how they can get in contact with you, find out more about your books, and get educated on any upcoming releases?
Yeah. So you can always find me on my social media, Facebook, which is just under my name, and then Instagram as well, which is my first name, 39. So Kathern 39. And my name is spelled very different. So Kathern 39. So you can find me on Instagram there. And yeah, that's it.
Great.
So, do you guys doing anything special for Father's Day? Father's
Right
Day
after
or
this, I am headed over to my son's house, and we are doing a little barbecue and celebrating the fathers in our family.
very
That
nice,
sounds great.
very
Nice.
nice. Father's Day comes in June and the weather is all nice. Granted, a little too hot sometimes, but man, barbecuing some good food with family and just sharing times
Yeah.
together. That's what
And I
life
want to
is all
hear,
about sometimes.
I want you guys to stop complaining about the heat. I didn't say I was hot at all, and I'm in Texas. So,
Yeah, you got the humidity. Oh goodness.
yeah, it's definitely hotter here.
Yes, most definitely. At least we have the dry heat. We're good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, right.
the hardest part with Colorado though, in Texas, it's like once it reaches that 80-degree point, it's 80 degrees for the next, till it gets up to 90s, and with Colorado, we'll go from like 60 to 80 to 90 to 105, back down to
Yeah,
47. And your
yeah,
body's just like,
exactly.
what is going on?
We like
You
to,
don't know how to dress. You can't dress for the weather at all. You have
no,
to wear layers, they always say. Dress
yes,
in
Ex-
layers.
yes,
Exactly.
Yeah, I just couldn't take the long winters. The winters are just long.
yes.
And so I like Texas for that reason.
Well, I want to thank you again, Catherine, for coming on to our show, Shine with Curiosity and Encouragement. You have a very great story to share. I'm sorry you had to experience a lot of the lows that you had to experience, but it made you into the person that you have become.
Yeah,
I'm happy to hear what you had to say on your story, and I can relate to a lot of it. So I appreciate that as well. Um, have yourself a wonderful rest of your Sunday,
thank you.
and send me over that information so we can post where our guests can find you on Facebook and YouTube.
All right.
Yeah, and I'm betting there are a lot of people out there that can relate to your story.
Yeah,
And that they may want to get in contact with you for that reason.
most
So
definitely.
I appreciate your sharing.
Well, thank you. Thank you both. And happy Father's Day to you.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Well, that was a fantastic episode. We,
Yeah.
I always love to hear stories of triumph over
Mhm.
rock bottom and people who
Yep.
experience things that a lot of people wouldn't last past, just having that experience and being able to become it and going on the
Mhm.
other side and
Yeah.
showing that, resilience is the only word I can use to describe what I'm thinking of
Yes.
this, but
Right.
it's always very heartwarming to hear people overcoming
Hmm.
obstacles like that.
Yeah. And as far as young people um, that maybe haven't gone through some of these types of difficult situations yet, um, hang in there. Just know from these stories that you can make it through. You may not be in a situation like this yet, but I don't know anybody who has missed out on having a difficult situation in their life, having to overcome something really difficult. So, I would just say what I would tell younger people is, don't forget these kinds of stories because it's really important to know that you can get through it and you can be better for it on the other side.
Absolutely. And it is Father's Day, and I do want to say out there to all the men, not only a happy Father's Day, but it is June as well, and June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month.
Mhm.
And guys, it is not a stigma. If you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling sad, if you're feeling like you can't go on, reach out to somebody. Call a crisis call center, a best friend, and a buddy from high school, somebody that you trust. Get the mental help that you need, and
Mhm.
don't think it's a stigma on that. It's okay.
Very well said.
All right. Well, again, like I keep repeating, it's Father's Day, and Father's Day is always about food. And I got some steak to come up and eat some
Oh,
steak
wow.
and some mashed potatoes and some corn, and I'm all making myself incredibly hungry right now. So
Oh, you're
we're gonna
making me
go.
hungry too.
I want to thank
Okay.
everybody for watching our podcast, Shine with Curiosity and Encouragement. Thanks for spending your Sunday with us, especially on Father's Day. I hope you guys
Yes.
have a fantastic rest of your weekend, and we will see you guys all next week with another episode of Shine with Curiosity and
Yeah.
Encouragement.
Bye.
Bye.
Ever dreamed of seeing your name on the cover of a book? As a book publisher, we understand the challenges of self-publishing. If you're lost in the process, Wondering about illustrators, book coaches, or formatting issues? Worry not. At Soul Sunshine, we're here to guide you. Let's turn your dream into reality. Contact us to get started.